Hey, what's up you guys? I saw this tag recently, which is the Ride or Die book tag. I will link the original creator's video down below. The first prompt for this tag is The BFF, a book that not everyone likes, but has been with you since the start, and you'll always love them. Oh, this is difficult because I feel like there are a lot that could fall into this category, like Twilight. A lot of people don't like Twilight and think it's problematic, and I understand that criticism, but it's been with me since the beginning, and I have loved it since the beginning. The Moral Instruments, a lot of people find Clary annoying. Some people think Cassandra Clare is problematic, and I still love that series, and I think I will always love that series no matter what comes out about it, because that series, it just taught me so much about who I am and what I love. And then there's also Harry Potter, because J.K. Rowling has made the statements that she's made, which I do not agree with. I will leave some links down below for some videos discussing how science actually validates whatever gender identity you are. So yeah, those three series, like I don't see how I could ever not love them, but I do understand the criticisms that they've gotten. But to me, I still love those series. I still love those stories. They have meant so much to me, and I can't imagine not having those in my life or like cutting those out of my life. So the next prompt is The Long Drive, a book you take on a journey, or if you know you'll be spending a lot of time unable to move. So like in a car or a plane or in a mode of transportation. So for this, I would probably go with The Lord of the Rings, just because that is such an adventure story, and it really just takes you on such a journey. It is all about the journey. That story, it is all about getting from point A to point B. It's not about getting to the destination. It's about how you get there and what you have to sacrifice to get there. And I just think that that story would go really well with The Long Drive. So the next prompt is The Newcomer, the most recent book you've read that you can't stop talking about. This one could be really two books. I feel like I've talked about Six of Crows so much, like way too much. I'm probably annoying you guys with how much I've talked about Six of Crows, but Six of Crows or Scythe. Again, this is another one where I just feel like I've talked so much about it, and like I can't stop. I loved both of these books. I think both of these series are really strong in the world building. It's just beautiful. It is some awesome world building. I felt so engrossed in these stories. I was so excited from page to page. I definitely recommend them both. The next prompt is The Quiet One, the book you reach for when you need some peace and quiet. This is kind of a hard prompt for me because normally if I need some peace and quiet, I just leave whatever situation I'm in. I'm one of those people who just dips out of shit all the time. Like, you invite me somewhere, I don't want to go anymore, okay, I have to babysit. That's my like go-to excuse for getting out of stuff. I just pretend like I have to babysit. Fun fact, I never babysit. I don't like to babysit. I don't really do it, but I pretend to do it. But I would probably say that a good one is Anna and the French Kiss. I will say, looking back on it, the relationship in this book probably is the best in the world. It does definitely start off with some cheating, but it still brings me a lot of the happy feelings. So I typically would reach for something like Anna and the French Kiss, or Lola and the Boy Next Door, or Geekerella, or just something fun and light like that. That's just a fun little teenage rom-com. I would also do the same thing with movies. If I was in like the same mood but wanted to watch a movie, is I would look for a nice little teenage rom-com. The next prompt is The Outgoing One, a book you love to read in public or don't mind keeping with you for antisocial social occasions. I don't read often in public. I normally, if I read in public, I'll read in like a coffee shop or something, and I don't talk to anyone there. But I typically just bring whatever I'm reading with me. But if there was a book that I specifically would not be afraid to read in front of other people, it would be Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, because that is a classic. And classics, people will look at you and be like, oh, you're smart, you're reading a classic. But if you're walking around and you're reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, they're gonna look at you and be like, what are you reading? The Guilty Pleasure, the book you don't want to justify because it would be too embarrassing, but you love it nonetheless. This one again could be like two different book series, because The Selection and Twilight. Like, it's so hard for me to justify Twilight. I can't tell you that Edward's actions are okay. I can't say that what he does is okay. I can't say that his relationship with Bella is in any way strong, but I still love it. It's like a drug to me. It's like my own personal brand of heroin. The Selection is another like super guilty pleasure for me. That's the way that I always describe it, because it's like reading The Bachelor, which The Bachelor to begin with is a guilty pleasure show for me. I love that show. I think it's hilarious. I think especially in recent years, the editing has become very self-aware of the fact that it is a show where you've got 23 people dating one person. And I think that it's become very self-aware in that way, that it kind of makes fun of that. But The Selection is very much like that, and I loved it. I ate it up. I could not stop flipping the pages, and I hate America. I really cannot stand her as a character, and I don't understand why I love the series when she is the main character, because it's such a fun read. I will say I haven't read the last 2 books in the series. I've read The Selection, The Elite, and The One. I know that 2 other books came out in that series, but I probably won't ever really read them because I've heard that they were very much a letdown, and I was there for the original story, and I know that they kind of are a different story from the original story. So when I talk about the Selection series, I'm talking about those first 3 books, and they're just a guilty pleasure. I go back to them and I just start flipping through and rereading different sections occasionally because it reminds me of different group dates that, you know, happen on The Bachelor. I love group dates on The Bachelor. Those are like my favorite things on The Bachelor, because like how uncomfortable, like I cannot imagine going on a date with someone and then there being like 10 other people there. Like, ew, no. And they're so like orchestrated and stuff. They're so overproduced. I love the group dates. I think they're hilarious. The next prompt is The Stranger, the book no one seems to have heard of and you wish everyone had read it so you could talk about it. I will say I do tend to read books mostly off of hype. So most of the books that I have read are like hyped up books. Most of the books that I liked are hyped up books. So most of the people know the books that I've read if I mention them. Like if you look at my favorite shelf, I don't think there's a book on here that someone wouldn't know what it is. So this is kind of a hard choice for me because I'm trying to look for something that isn't something that everyone has heard of. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Good Omen by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I really enjoyed that book. I think it's really funny and I definitely recommend it. I've got a book talk for it. I've talked about it at different points on this channel, but I do really enjoy that book and I think that it doesn't get all the hype that it deserves just because it's so funny and it takes you on such a fun ride. Like, to quote the back of the book, the apocalypse has never been funnier, and I think that that's really true with that book, and I definitely recommend it. So the next prompt is The Book Was Better, a book you loved but the film adaptation was awful. Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. Both of the Percy Jacksons were awful. Sea of Monsters more so. Like, they freaking destroyed the main bad guy of the entire Percy Jackson series in Sea of Monsters. I don't understand how you would even go on with a 3rd movie in that series at this point, because they've already beaten the big bad. So, you know, I think they really royally screwed the pooch on that one, because you could have had another Harry Potter if they had done it right. But, you know, it's fine. The Lightning Thief, they just changed the story. They changed the story too much. And there are certain things that as a reader watching a movie, like, you kind of expect them to keep the same. Like Twilight. Twilight is not a good movie, but it was a pretty good adaptation because you got those scenes that you wanted to see. You got the biology scene in there, and we all wanted to see that biology scene because, come on, it's ridiculous. And then you have, so the lion fell in love with the lamb. You have those iconic quotes that were in the book that have been brought to the movie. But Lightning Thief was just missing all of that. All of it. Like, the characters were not even the right age. They didn't have the right hair colors. I know that that might sound like it's really nitpicking, but as someone who's watching a film adaptation, if you don't have any of that, it just feels like it's lost all connection to the source material whatsoever. The author. An author you'll read everything they'll ever produce. You trust them completely, whether it's a hardback series of 15 novels or a shopping list. There are a few authors that I will probably read pretty much anything they put out, with the exception of potentially novellas, just because novellas take time to read and I don't always want to read them depending upon how I'm feeling. But I think Cassandra Clare is one where I'm probably at least always gonna buy her books, just because I do want to read them and I do intend on getting to them eventually. She really developed my love for reading with her books that she made, and I just love all of the books that she has put out. Another one is probably gonna be John Green, just because his stories were really impactful for me. I read so many of his books. I think I've read all of his books except for one at this point, but he's another one where I'm always gonna, you know, trust him, especially because I've been watching his YouTube channel too for so long now. I was a youngin' when I started watching his channel, you know, like I was there from a very early time, and I loved his channel. I love him and Hank. I think that they are awesome siblings, and I trust him. Like, I trust John Green. I trust that he is a good person and that he is trying to do good things. So I also love what he does with like Project for Awesome and how he is trying to help those who have less than him. Like, I think I trust him to be good. Okay, so that was all of the prompts in this tag. I hope you liked this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Comment down below some of your answers to some of the prompts, or if you're going to be doing this tag as well, I'd love to know. I love checking out other people's videos. As always, I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. I will see you in my next one. Bye!